Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Cosmic Culture, the channel where we talk about all major movie and television news, theories, breakdowns, and reviews.
And reactions.
And reactions, and leaks, and spoilers, and spoiler warning, because we're going to be talking about Suicide Squad. We went and saw it, and we're here to chat with you a little bit about it. It is a bit of a complicated piece, as I think most things with DC are.
I'm Warren.
Oh yeah, if you didn't know, this is Warren. You obviously already know who I am. But if you don't, which you probably actually don't, I'm Chris. And this is Cosmic Culture. Consider subscribing, turn on that notification bell. And if you have seen Suicide Squad, comment down below what you thought.
You know, I think you said it. If you hadn't seen the first Suicide Squad, they don't really...
It's actually my dad.
His dad. Yeah. They don't really go over in depth what the Suicide Squad is. Mm-hmm. They do say, like, when they're in jail, it's like, all right, you know the drill. Mm-hmm. Complete the mission, get 10 years off your sentence.
No, like 15 seconds.
That's like it.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
They do kind of brush over it, and it reminds me a little bit of Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Like, they don't actually explain the Spider-Man story. They're just
you know at this point, they're the Suicide Squad. They're bad guys and we send them on stuff like that.
So that was the assumption, but I do think it was a little bit less obvious as it is with Spider-Man. So there probably were viewers who would have liked to have that introduction if they could have taken 5 more minutes to explain that. Maybe
it's a 2-hour movie.
It is a very long movie.
It's probably longer than
that. I think it's just under 2.5 maybe.
Yeah, so they put a lot into it already.
Oh, 100%.
Maybe they just didn't have time.
You know what? They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So we start this movie. Obviously, we've heard a lot about it. James Gunn was very excited. I think he's even gone as far as to say this was his favorite project of all time. And it definitely shows in some of the theatrics, the cinematography, the little details that are in there.
Yeah, there's a lot,
And overall, the entire finished product was a gorgeous film. 100%. But when we break down into those little details, there are definitely people who probably won't enjoy some aspects as much as others, and different questions that need to come up, so we're going to talk about that. First off, this movie was very clearly rated R.
It's very clearly rated R.
And how did that sit with you as a consumer, not as, a reviewer of YouTube movies, and how did rated R, James Gunn literally blowing faces off of people, stabbing people in the face, how did that sit with you as a consumer?
I think it needs to be rated R, and I think a lot of people are going to like the violence, but I don't. I don't like violence like that. I don't like gore for the sake of, like, let's be as gory as we can just to do it. Mm-hmm. I don't like that. That doesn't mean it's bad. I just don't personally like it.
And that's going to be a huge consumer point. And I think one of the big questions as we're moving into the weekend with the box office, because I think this movie is actually underperforming. It's sitting at 12-15 million for the box office, which is actually less than Birds of Prey. Granted, that was COVID time, but it's less than Jungle Cruise. It's less than Luca. It's less than a lot of these COVID-era movies that have come out. And the question is it because it's a rated R movie and they're losing a lot of that younger fan base, either because they're not comfortable watching it or their parents aren't comfortable letting them watch it?
Yeah, it's probably something to do with that. And we do have COVID variants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, things are changing, and I want to be fair to the movie for that.
Right, yeah. I don't know. I think there's a lot of hype. Like on Rotten Tomatoes, it scores really, really good.
Really,
I think
high.
Most of the people are raving about the movie. There's very few that are like, I don't think you can really argue that. I don't think there's a good argument that it's a bad movie. Mm-mm. It's got a lot of really great... I just don't like gore. So seeing that, I'm like turning my face. I'm just like, I don't need to see any of it. Mm-hmm. And I get that there's a lot of people that like that. But putting that aside, everything else, like the story is good. The little side stories are good. The deaths are good.
The deaths are fantastic. I mean, you're in the first...
I like the people they killed off.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. I'm glad they got killed off because I don't care.
I really only had one expectation, the person I wanted saved, and it worked.
I wanted Sebastian to stay alive.
The rat.
The whole movie, that's all I cared about. I would rage if he died.
Yep.
That's all I cared about.
And even up to the last scene, and you credit James Gunn because you never know who's going to go and win. Yeah. The last scene, the rat sits on Bloodspot's lap, and I'm sitting there waiting for him to just crush it, and like that's the end of the movie. Like, that is how well James Gunn did do with not making it a very predictable movie.
No, it wasn't very predictable.
First 5 minutes, half of the people we've seen in the trailer are dead.
Yeah.
And then you're going throughout the movie, and you're like... And I actually leaned over to Warren and I was like, they killed everybody off in the beginning, now nobody else is going to die. And it wasn't 2 minutes after that, they killed Joel Kinnaman, they killed John Cena, and I'm sitting there like, oh, Okay. Now, obviously,
with a little bit of space in between the deaths.
Yeah, a little bit, but it also gave you kind of like, everybody alive is safe now. Here's your core Suicide Squad. But they didn't do that. They left it a little surprising.
Right. And then Polka Dot Man.
Yeah, Polka Dot Man got squashed, and he was a fantastic character.
He's really good. And people raved about his character as well. And I was like, oh, what's this guy going to be about? And it actually really surprised me. He was a really good character.
They gave him an incredible amount of like character development. In the little screen time
in a very little bit of screen time that he had.
You really liked him.
You really got into his story, especially with his mom. That was hilarious.
That was crazy.
There was a lot of really clever, smart, fun, beautiful things thrown in the movie, and that's what all makes it. And it wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't like a stupid thing. Like
unnecessary.
The first Suicide Squad, I don't know, it all felt really dumb to me.
Like forced almost.
Just the story wasn't all there to me.
Okay.
Like, it wasn't like, I'm like, why are you hiring these people to take on like a magical witch? Like, like
this storyline, the plot line of what you're sending the Suicide Squad to go do, actually does work perfectly. There's the American involvement. Right, it's an actual real mission that they didn't know everything about.
It's a real mission, but it's Black Ops. People can't know America's involved, so it's a bunch of degenerate people who are in jail, but they're trying to like clear America's name to not be a part of this. It's like, yeah, that's who you send to do crap.
And you see why you can't send soldiers, because the one soldier you sent, when you found out, became a huge problem.
Wants to be a good guy and, to blah, 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 blah. Right.
So huge credits to that. The Suicide Squad did a Suicide Squad worthy mission.
Right.
100%.
That's who you call. You call the Suicide Squad. And there's a lot of cool things like Bloodspot's like, oh yeah, he's in prison for putting Superman in the ICU with a kryptonite bullet. I'm like, and his gadgets were really cool. They
did a great job. That character was all around.
Yeah. He had a rat
built his freaking super gun at the end.
Yeah.
And we talked about with Polka Dot Man, his character development. I think each character individually, even characters we know very well like Harley Quinn, had a very cool character development and information about the characters in the long allotted time, but there weren't so many characters, and it was like, hey, here's each of them.
I'm glad they killed off a lot, because that'd be
it did save you a lot of time to keep up with. Like, here's their story, here's their story, here's their story. Movie's over.
Even King Shark had good development, because he went from wanting to eat
to having friends,
to having friends, and making the little C4 doll.
Peacemaker.
Right. Yeah, and then those little weird guys turned on him and tried to eat him. And I didn't want him to die.
Nope.
And I'm glad that he stayed alive.
Because there's actually a lot of potential in future for him right now. A lot of momentum for his character coming out of the Harley Quinn movie.
Yeah.
Or not the Harley Quinn movie, the Harley Quinn show.
Yeah.
And then now here where he's been introduced. And I think a lot of fans will get behind this character. People who already knew him, people who didn't. Yeah. There's a lot of fun to be had there. We're getting the Peacemaker series. There was that post-credit scene where he wasn't actually dead somehow. Yeah. And
because he's John Cena.
I'm excited for that. James Gunn's involved in that as well. Yeah. So a lot of excitement coming out of what this movie was, but I will go into the same issue that Warner Brothers and DC have been having, is it's a disappointment in the collective cinematic universe. Because it always just has no connection to anything. It's here's a great movie, like The Joker.
Prequel reboot.
Prequel reboot.
That's sequel
reboot. That's kind of like,
what is that?
Yes, involved. Here's Boomerang. We're gonna kill him in the first 3 seconds. Here's Harley Quinn back, but it gets confusing. I think it leaves a lot of fans, especially and I'll say it, with the success of Disney and Marvel. It leaves them wanting that continuation and that perfect flow of cinematic masterpiece that DC's been struggling with, and it does bite them a little bit because the movie on its own fantastic.
Yeah,
but where does it fit in where DC's going?
Maybe it's supposed to be a standoff film. I think we're waiting for The Flash.
We're waiting for The Flash. Yeah. I'm waiting for The Flash. You're waiting for The Flash.
We're all waiting for The Flash.
DC fandom coming around the corner. We could get a lot of different information as well, but we are just kind of floating in space right now, waiting for direction with DC, and I hope we get it. I really do, because there was a lot of individual character directions they could go in this from this movie.
Yeah. The problem is you don't really get Marvel movies that are outside of the universe, whereas DC's trying to do both
at the same time,
but they're not clear about it, right? We have the whole Justice League fiasco and all those movies that connected, but then you did Joker. And you're like, that's an amazing movie on its own.
Fantastic movie.
But where does it fall? And then it's like, oh, maybe he's in Robert Pattinson's Batman.
But then they're saying he's not.
But then he's not. And then we all thought Robert Pattinson's Batman was going to take place in like maybe like 1980. But now it's like, oh, everyone has smartphones and so it's like, okay, that can't be the case. So there's just as far as like consumers that we see from the outside looking in, we don't see the connection. And
maybe it'll be made known.
Maybe, but and you know it's a little disappointing for the Suicide Squad, but it doesn't make it any less of a movie.
And that's the same point. Same with the Joker. Same with the Batman trilogy that's going to be coming out. Because I already know
it's
that's
just sort of
fantastic.
the like you wish it connected.
It makes it more satisfying.
Right.
And it does. You know, you think, and I'll go back to the prime example, Marvel. You know, the MCU. You start it. You know, Hulk, and you go all the way through to Loki, and there is something that can connect every single piece that's happened, and it is so flawless, and they really did nail it. And I don't know necessarily that DC's trying to compete with that or not, and if that's part of the problem, but whatever direction they are or aren't heading right now does leave a little bit of a weird aftertaste for an individual film.
And the one thing is with Marvel, they, you know, the first one, Iron Man, he's through it till the end. You know, and
hey, they've had Harley for 3, 4 now.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Harley's kind of like the defining, like she's in
icon,
right. She's in a lot. She's had her own movie, Birds of Prey, and she was actually the best in this for me because she got away from the stupid Joker stuff.
Yeah, she really did become her own character.
Right, and it was kind of her own. And I like the part where she's like, I decided if there's any red flag,
killing a bunch of kids is a red flag.
I'm like, good for you. Like,
I love it because she was like, you know, I could have just left, but you just come back.
Right. The type of person I am. It's like, you're learning.
It was fun.
You know who you are now.
And the big difference for me, because you said she's done with all the Joker stuff, in Birds of Prey, it was like, well, she got rid of it then. She didn't, though. She kept talking about it.
She talked about the whole film.
This was done. No mention of it. Right. You know, they made the one joke about personalized license plates.
Oh, yeah.
That was it. You know, there were no Joker. She was her own character. She's off on her own. And anything she's going to do in the future, which Margot Robbie said she's up to do. She's trying to get some Poison Ivy stuff coming, and
that'd be cool. They should go more the direction of her animated show.
I agree.
It's not Margot Robbie's animated show.
No, like in real live action. Right, But so we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. But like we were saying within this video, so many different directions they go. Peacemaker, Bloodspot, King Shark.
But it's not. It's
Weasel's still alive.
Right, but it's not done poorly. James Gunn did it well. Like it all connects, which is what you want in the movie. Because if you're just like, I'm here, it's just like, all right, I'm too many places at one time. Where's the overall story? Like it's all within that overall story arc. Like it all connects. So it's you know, like the dispute between John Cena and Idris Elba is hilarious. And then at the end, you know, it's like one versus the other. And it's like, all right, that's cool because everything, all
has
that
its own.
Right, it came full circle at the end where they came against each other, right? So it's like, that's really cool. And then the whole thing, you know, with King Shark and just his relationship with the squad in general. And then the whole Milton thing was really funny because then Harley's like, and then Harley calls, you know, Idris Elba Milton. And he's like, not my name. He's like, we had this whole conversation.
Yeah, there are a lot of very good, but they're not foreshadowing moments. Some of them are, some of them aren't, but connecting pieces that do make this movie have a very good, complete feel. And you said it walking out of the theater, you know, best thing to come out of DC in a long time.
Yeah,
and I would agree, probably since Joker at least. And even then, it's like, are they the same?
Snyder Cut was phenomenal.
The Snyder Cut was phenomenal, but I will say that it has an asterisk on it. It's off to the side.
It's definitely off to the side.
But it was fantastic. And we keep seeing glimpses of brilliance with DC.
What it could.
And I just want it to be that. And hopefully with the Flash movie, DC fandom coming around the corner, we will get all of that. I'm going to put this movie at... I mean, in the world of DC, not movies overall, definitely an 8 or a 9 for me.
I was gonna say 8, yeah.
Just in DC movies, overall movies in the time, probably a solid 7. James Gunn did a great time. You could see the love he had, the actors, their love for it, a lot of cool connections, and you know, fantastic soundtrack, colorful pieces, a lot of cool small details that he added into the final cut that really made it a great movie for me.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Gore aside, because that's not me.
I don't mind the gore.
But I think people who like that stuff it's gonna really like make it a cool movie for. Like, you know, like it's a cool movie for. But I just think story, characters, music, visualization. I didn't find much dumbness to it.
had a lot of purpose. Every detail was important moving forward.
Yeah, like that's a big thing for me when I watch a movie. I'm like, that's dumb. Like, why did you do that? I never said that to myself. So it all seemed very full circle. So yeah, I'm gonna give it like an 8.5.
There you go.
Yeah, it's what I want from DC.
I want more of this from DC as well. But as always, we want to know your opinion, what you thought. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Check it out. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. If you have seen it, the same. Give us your rating and a little breakdown. We'll love to chat with you guys, and we'll be active down there in the comments section. Yeah. As always, thank you to everybody watching the very end of the video. If you found it helpful, useful, or entertaining, go ahead and give it a like and consider subscribing so you don't miss any of our daily videos right here on Cosmic Culture.
John Cena! Bucks jersey.
So, yeah, football season's starting.
It's Brady.
All day it's Brady.
I just get the joke 12 to the chest like
12 to the chest like Tom Brady.
I knew what he was referring to, obviously, but I didn't realize that his number was 12.
12 to the chest like Tom Brady.
Mom Beach Griffey, funny dude.